Almost every day, the world keeps evolving in very multifaceted directions. These dynamics, these changes are visible or traceable to nearly all the rest of our lives. And the English language is not left out. Today, in this class, I'll be sharing with you how writers, how speakers of the English language can use English to promote gender inclusion, how you as a speaker, how you as a writer, as an editor, can use the power of the English language to promote or to celebrate gender inclusion, how to accommodate other genders, especially at the time that we live in, where you have to study the gender in the room. Right. Previously, the consciousness around the gender in the room wasn't something that drew attention or that attracted attention, but things have changed over time. Today, as a writer or as a speaker of the English language, you cannot just enter a room and decide to impose a gender on your audience. You have to study the room to understand, okay, what gender is represented or what genders are represented. Besides the masculine or the feminine gender, we have all kinds of genders these days. So, as you can see, we have three instructional sentences to drive home the message in this class. The first instruction says, write a letter to your friend. Tell him about your last visit to the beach. Write a letter to your friend. Tell him about your last visit to the beach. The second instruction says, write a letter to your friend. Tell them about your next book launch. 3. Write a letter to a pen friend. Tell him or her about your forthcoming exams. I take that again. Write a letter to a pen friend. Tell him or her about your forthcoming exams. Now, having taken these three questions, let me ask you, which of these three instructional sentences do you think is the most acceptable in modern day English language? Is that the first? Is that the second or the third? What would your answer be? You can let me know in the comment. But for those who don't know, let's get to it. Now, the first says, write a letter to your friend. Tell him about your last visit to the beach. Clearly, this is not acceptable in modern day English language. Now, what do I mean? Think of this as a stranger walking up to you and asking you to write a letter to your friend. Just a random stranger walking up to you and asking you, requesting you to write a letter or giving an instruction that you write a letter to your friend. And in the process, the individual is saying you write a letter to him. The question is, how did this person know that your friend has to be a male? Has to be a man or a boy. And that exactly is where the mistake stems from. As a writer or as a teacher or as a user of the English language, you cannot just conclude or, assume that people's friends will always be male, right? You need to ask questions before you start imposing things, before you start saying, before you start suggesting that the person you're speaking to has a male friend or a female friend. This very structure in the first expression is an idea of traditional grammarians. And to tell you the truth, this structure by traditional grammarians has overstayed its welcome in the English language. And why is that the case? It is simply because this structure eliminates the female gender, right? It's simply concluding or imposing the male gender on the recipient or on the writer. This question is limiting the writer to have, just a male friend. So that's why this idea is no longer obtainable in modern day English language. So when you write or speak as a user of the English language, make sure that you're sensitive to the gender you're speaking to, and make sure that you are accommodating enough of other genders. So that's why this structure by traditional grammarians is no longer obtainable in the English language, in modern day English. So let's get to the second instructional expression. It says, write a letter to your friend. Tell them about your next book launch. This is the right structure. This is the right template to use in modern day English language. Why? Now let's get to it. Write a letter to your friend. Now, in this question, the gender of this friend is not stated. The gender of this individual here is not stated. We cannot tell whether this friend is a female friend or a male friend. Right. Now, in situations or in a situation where the gender is not specified, make sure that as a writer or as a speaker, you use them as the feeler. You don't say him, you don't say her, simply use them. Write a letter to your friend, just one friend, tell them. It's correct. You use the pronoun them to replace, the male gender or the female gender. This is a way you can accommodate both genders as a writer or as a speaker. You simply don't say him, you simply don't say her, just go with them, right? Write a letter to your friend. Tell them about your next book launch. This is the most acceptable way to write in modern time. Please take note of that. Please take note of that. Okay, so that is that about that. Let's come to the last instruction. Write a letter to a pen friend. Tell him or her about your forthcoming examination or exams. This is also correct. However, you notice that with the presence of him and or and her, this whole expression here is becoming wordy, like too many words. Too many words are coming together to form this expression, right? You have more, if you count, you notice that you have more words in this expression here, right? Take for example, we're saying tell them, tell them, and we cancel out this, we cancel out this, we cancel out this. It means that this expression has reduced by three words. One, two, three, or by two words, with the inclusion of this, has reduced by two words. And in modern time, you aren't expected, your expressions, your write-ups aren't expected to be worthy, to contain too many words, right? So we're finding ways to streamline our writing process or to streamline whatever that we write. Now, pay attention to this. While this structure is acceptable in modern day English language, it is not as much as acceptable as this structure here. Right. Why? This structure puts everybody together. The him, the she, or the she him, all of those come together in them. Whereas with this last option here, with this last structure, um, the human gender has been reduced, has been streamlined to just two genders, the masculine and the feminine. And of course, you know that we have people who claim not to belong to any of these two genders today, right? So that's why, to play safe as a writer or as a speaker, you go for them instead of he or she. And again, remember, this is time wasting. To write he or she or him is time wasting. And also, it makes your write up to be wordy, like to contain too many words. So that's basically what this class is about. Remember, the essence is to use language, the English language, to accommodate gender equality instead of you as a writer or as a speaker imposing a gender on people. Thanks a lot for watching. See you next time. But remember to keep speaking right and keep learning right. See you next time.